2024 is nearly here, which means a whole new year of new games. So, in no particular order, here's just a few of the games set to come in 2024 that I've been keeping my eye on.
And who are we killing?
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is Rocksteady's first new game in 8 years, and marks the 5th entry into the Arkham game universe, which is one of my personal favourite franchises. All the co-op and live service features and the focus on guns over fisticuffs does have me tempering my expectations somewhat on this one. Let's hope Rocksteady can pull it off.
We are unstoppable. Join me.
Are you kidding?
Tombstone.
This is hopefully the Star Wars game we've been looking for. Star Wars Outlaws looks like an absolutely massive open world game coming to us from Ubisoft. Set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, you get to explore the galaxy's seedy underbelly and hives of villainy as an outlaw. The Force could be strong with this one. If you prefer your Cloud Strifes to your Cloud Cities, then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth lands on February 29th, bringing with it the second chapter in the planned trilogy of Final Fantasy VII remakes.
I'm waiting, Cloud.
Dropping on January 26th, fighting game fans better get ready to punch on with Tekken 8. This entry's gameplay is said to be focusing on aggressiveness and destruction, featuring completely new character models and voice lines, and it'll be the first major fighting game to be powered by shiny Unreal Engine 5 graphics. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 continues the terrifically tormented tale of Senua, coming from the team at Ninja Theory. This is another Unreal Engine 5 showcase, and that cinematic, warped, brutal, dark, Norse/Celtic fantasy ticks all my boxes. Go to hell. Again. Yes, Hades 2, the highly anticipated follow-up to everyone's favourite roguelite full of extremely hot ancient gods. It's due to drop sometime next year, aiming for an early access launch sometime in Q2.
About ready to give in?
No, I was born for this.
Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is the long-awaited follow-up to an absolute FPS classic. This was originally announced way back in 2010 and has had a rocky road through development. If this one can nail the shooting and combine those horror and RPG elements with that grim and amazing atmosphere, this could be something special. Avowed promises to be a colourful, magic-slinging fantasy RPG from beloved RPG developers Obsidian Games. This could be one to help tide us over a bit until Elder Scrolls 6 eventually comes out sometime in the next decade or two. Move over Mario, as March 22nd brings us Princess Peach Showtime. It's the princess's first lead role in almost 20 years, giving her a headlining act in this theatrical action puzzle adventure where she transforms into all sorts of roles that are sure to inspire endless cosplay looks for years.
Whoa, Peach transformed into Sword Fighter Peach.
Replaced can't come soon enough. This stunning and stylish 2D cyberpunk action game has been one I've been dying to check out ever since its first trailer. It looks cool as hell. Ultros is another game that's delivering some truly striking art, describing itself as a psychedelic Metroidvania. That bright aesthetic sure is a trip, man. Let's just hope the gameplay isn't from a bad batch. Black Myth Wukong is one to watch for any Souls fans out there. It's impressed ever since its debut trailer showed off a visually stunning Souls-like interpretation of the Journey to the West tale, with some spectacular looking boss fights. Of course, Souls fans are going to be champing at the bit for Elden Ring's first major DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. Okay, sure, we know basically nothing about this, and they haven't actually confirmed a 2024 release for it. But surely it's going to come out at some point next year, right? Right? Speaking of DLC and expansions, Destiny 2's final expansion, The Final Shape, lands on June 4th. Anticipation and expectations are obviously sky high among the Destiny community. Will it manage to deliver a satisfying conclusion to the story that we started with our Guardians nearly 10 years ago? Will the balls and pyramids all just get along in the end? We'll find out. Or knowing Destiny, we'll probably just end up more confused and with more questions than ever. Yes, there seems to be about 30 Warhammer games every year, but Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is a big one. This third-person action adventure puts us back in the shoes of a Space Marine to blast bolt guns and tear apart Tyranids either solo or with 3 fellow Space Marines.
Eviscerate this abomination!
Homeworld 3 is set to dish up some story-driven sci-fi strategy spectacle. This one comes over 20 years since Homeworld 2 launched. The original games were some of my favourite growing up, and now I feel old.
Good kill. Enemy eliminated. Area secured. Kasura Gate is operational and standing by.
Gate commit on my mark. 3, 2, 1.
Our History Untold is another one for armchair generals to keep an eye on. This seems like an ambitious and very pretty entry into the 4X civilization builder genre, coming to us from many developers who actually made those civilization games. What sets this one apart for me though is that it seems to be trying to blend in some more free-form building and strategy than what we usually see in the genre.
One thing is certain. History will never be the same.
Rise of the Ronin is an open-world action-adventure featuring lots of katanas and some ye-olde guns for good measure. It's from the team behind the Ninja Gaiden series at Team Ninja, so it should be very violent. Big B the Big Bad Wolf is back for another graphic adventure in The Wolf Among Us 2. It's been a decade-long wait since Telltale's excellent episodic fairy tale noir original based on the Fables comic books was released. It was easily one of Telltale's best series, so hopefully this one lives up to that legacy.
How does the anger manifest itself?
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is another one that has been a long time coming, landing some 20 years after the original. This one has a complicated development that's jumped between studios, but is now being handled by the folks at the Chinese Room, and should hopefully offer up a deep first-person RPG with lots of interesting choice, consequence, and characters to flesh out all that blood-sucking and vampiring action. Landing in early access on February 22nd is Nightingale, an interesting new entry into the PvE open-world co-op/solo survival base building genre. This features some wonderfully dapper character designs, tons of weird monsters, and different Fey realms to explore. This one definitely has some strong potential. Also, look at those waves. Pretty. Not to be left out of the PvE open world co-op/solo survival base building games is Ark 2. This one looks set to continue the popular dinosaur riding and survival shenanigans, now with 100% more Vin Diesel. If you like city building and also enjoy being cold and sad and getting forced to make impossible decisions, then Frostpunk 2 is a game you don't want to miss. Honestly though, the first game was fantastic, and now this one puts the emphasis on the biggest threat of all, human nature. I can't wait to guide my city through this depressing dystopian hellscape. Metaphor ReFantazio is a new stylish action JRPG from the developers of the Persona series, so expectations are very high for this one. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 looks set to deliver more stunning visuals and flying action, this time with more of a campaign and a whole bunch of aviation-based jobs for you to simulate till your joystick breaks. Animal Well is a gorgeously animated retro 2D Metroidvania that's giving some excellent vibes from its trailer. It's been developed from scratch, mostly by one man over the last 5 years, and it's also Video Game Donkey's publisher Big Mode's first release. On January 26, we'll be continuing the story of Ichiban Kasuga in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, as he finds himself as a fish out of water in Honolulu in the next chapter of this long-running action RPG. Pacific Drive looks to be a wonderfully moody road trip-based survival game through the Pacific Northwest, filled with metal monsters. Color me intrigued.
Report your findings and follow appropriate decontamination procedures upon your return from the field.
Still Wakes the Deep is a first-person horror game set on a collapsing oil rig. This is another one coming from the talented folks at the Chinese Room, makers of Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, Everybody's Gone to Rapture, and Dear Esther. So it should be equal parts terrifying and thoughtful. Coming on January 16 is Alone in the Dark. This survival horror game is a reimagining of the original game by the same name, and has a story written by Michael Hedberg, who wrote Soma and Amnesia. Speaking of spooky, the excellent platforming horror of the Little Nightmares series continues in Little Nightmares 3, now featuring 2 heroes so you and a friend can get terrified together. Baby Steps is the next game from the master of frustratingly funny game design Bennett Foddy, where you play as a full-grown man-baby who can barely walk. Prepare to watch every gaming YouTuber do Let's Plays of this one. Note to self, do a Let's Play of Baby Steps.
See you later. Wanker.
If you thought Pokemon would be much better if it was just filled with giant guns and rocket launchers, then get ready for Palworld. Scheduled to drop into early access sometime in January, this game looks like an absolute fever dream, and I'm here for it. Angerfoot is a hyper-violent but cartoony first-person shooter about shooting and kicking a lot. Thank Goodness You're Here is a little animated adventure based on traditional Yorkshire folklore, and it could legitimately be Game of the Year. Just watch some of this and tell me it won't be.
When am I going to see the back of you, you wee melon head?
Mewgenics is all about collecting, breeding, and training a horde of mutant cats. Coming to us from Edmund McMillan, the mind behind indie classics like The Binding of Isaac and Super Meat Boy. This has a strong chance of being weird, warped, and excellent.
Take a cat, rub it on a cat, then that cat gets all fat.
Funko Fusion looks to be an impressive exercise in IP licensing, cramming as much pop culture together in bubble-headed plastic form as it can. It's hard to tell too much about what the game actually is from the trailer, but I'm thinking it's sort of gunning for the LEGO games, but also seems to be the closest we'll get to a Shaun of the Dead game, so it's got that going for it. Plucky Squire looks like a very creative blend of 2D and 3D platforming with its storybook-inspired adventure, where you literally adventure through storybooks and beyond.
And even beyond.
Bandle Tale, a League of Legends story, doesn't look at all like League of Legends, but bills itself as a crafting RPG and seems like a cute Stardew-esque life sim adventure that might help tide us over a little until Arcane Season 2 comes out. Shantae Advance Risky Revolution is a retro 2D platformer in the Shantae universe. But it's literally retro. It's an abandoned Game Boy Advance game that is now finally getting finished, and it's even getting released as a Game Boy Advance cartridge with link cable support. 33 Immortals is the next game from Spiritfarer developer Thunder Lotus, and promises to be a wonderfully animated 33-player online top-down action game. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown gives us an open-world, one-to-one recreation of Hong Kong Island to race around. These games also have a bit of a lifestyle focus too, so expect to be buying swanky apartments and clothes as well as lots of cars. Towers of Aghasba. Towers of Aghasba is an ambitious-looking action-adventure builder with big mystical creatures and an emphasis on growing the environment through both natural and man-made structures. And it has multiplayer. Aghasba? Aghasba. Neva looks like a beautiful and no doubt tear-jerking story about a girl and her giant wolf, coming to us from the developers of the excellent Gree. I'm not crying. You are. Ghost Bike is a colourful biking game about magical couriers who take mail between the worlds of the living and the dead. Sounds like it'll probably be depressing, but it looks like a nice chill vibe.
What's life if we don't try? Go on, watch me breezing through.
Nine Souls looks like a wonderfully animated 2D action platformer that says it's a lore-rich fantasy that has Sekiro-inspired deflection-focused combat, so it will probably be equally satisfying and frustrating as hell. Speaking of hell, Helldivers 2 is dropping on February 8th, and will deliver tons of explosive cooperative alien blasting action. Hell yeah.
Become part of an elite peacekeeping force and work together.
Speaking of co-op, John Carpenter's Toxic Commando looks like one for Left 4 Dead fans to keep an eye on. This one promises to be an explosive co-op FPS inspired by 80s horror and action films. Lightyear Frontier looks like it'll be a great chilled out, mech-fueled spin on the cozy life/farming sim genre. If Stray didn't give you enough cat in the city action, Little Kitty Big City looks like it'll deliver plenty more adorable cat-based adventures for you to sink your claws into. Greedfall 2: The Dying World continues on the 18th century inspired fantasy role-playing series. Well, it's actually a prequel to the first game, so it continues it, but 3 years before that one. Following on from the top-down Hyperlight Drifter, Hyperlight Breaker is dropping into early access at some point in the year to give us a new colourful open-world 3D perspective, with optional online co-op, if that floats your boat. Well, there you have it. That's just some of what's to come next year. Which ones are you keen for, and did we miss any that you're excited about? Let us know in the comments.